So we are here today with Rubin.
Hi there.
And Irv is most well known for feedback. And so feedback is going to be the focus of our conversation today.
Great.
My first question for you is why and how did feedback become your passion?
The roots go back, now it's almost 50 some odd years. I'm a faculty person, a young graduate at MIT, the Sloan School. I'm a young assistant professor. I'm loving teaching, and I'm really putting my heart and soul in it. And I've been doing it now 5 or 6 years. And then I win the teaching award for the Sloan School 1 year. Incredible honor, incredible honor. And the month of May, the next year, I am told that I am winning the teaching award for MIT that year. So in all honesty, I was as high as you could get on legal stuff at that point in time. And at 1 o'clock that afternoon, the man who had told me in the morning that I had won the award called me back into his office and told me I had been fired.
Wow.
You think you're surprised. He literally had to tell me 2 or 3 times. So it's a long, detailed story, but the essence of it was that I had focused on teaching, and that was fine, but I hadn't done what the Institute would call traditional academic research. The important thing in terms of feedback, to bring it back to your question, here I am at a quite prestigious management school, to say the least. It's my 6th year as a faculty person, and not once in those 6 years had anyone sat me down and said, Irv, it's time for your yearly performance discussion. In all honesty, I don't think that would have changed my behavior one bit, but it certainly wouldn't have left me as surprised as I was, as you were hearing it here. And that was a personal experience. For the next 4 years, the person who won the teaching award also got fired. So you can imagine the students being in quite an uproar about this. And here's the piece that really made it an organizational issue for me. After 4 years, the Sloan School of Management decided the way they would handle the issue of the award being associated with being fired was they actually sent out a memo to all of the faculty and all of the students saying, henceforth, we will no longer give this award because it unfairly differentiates all of the faculty, all of whom are committed to delivering excellence in teaching, which I thought was about the most classic example of an organization avoiding conflict. So I have a personal interest in feedback in addition to an intellectual interest.
So then how did your journey lead you to the practice of giving and receiving feedback?
I don't know that it didn't, at that point in time, I can't say that I said to myself, I'm going to devote my life to feedback. But it's clear to me as I look back on it, choices I made and things that I did and tools that I've tried to develop over my lifetime, particularly are related to the notion of feedback. So my life's work has been put into a specific tool that I've been able to create and see and grow and develop, whose singular objective is to make it possible for me to find out how you feel about me, and for you, if you want, to find out how I feel about you, but in behavioral terms. There's nothing more frustrating, as far as I can tell, with the clients I've had, when somebody says, well, give me some feedback. Can you give me a little help on what you'd like to hear? And this particular instrument does that. Over the years of working with the concept, I have become very, very concerned that, the human brain has one singular purpose as far as I can tell. Its primary purpose is to protect me, to keep me alive. So when I see scans of the brain these days, which you could see, and you look at a human brain, and when it's at peace, it's quite calm. There's very little activity in it. You look at a human brain that has a huge number of red spots, which means it's really heated up. And you look at a picture, and if I showed you one of those pictures, I could show you a picture of a brain that looks very red because somebody's holding a gun to your head. I could show you a picture of a brain that looked just as red if somebody was putting a knife to your throat. The frightening thing is that if I put that picture up and I told you that this person had just heard the word feedback, you would not be able to differentiate those 3 PET scans. So the brain has said, there's something about that word that makes you nervous. So I'm going to treat it as if it was an enemy. I'm going to let you know when you hear that word to get ready for an attack. Well, you can see what kind of a dynamic that generates. I'm going to get defensive. You're going to have to do whatever you need to do to try to get through that defense, and the whole thing becomes a lose-lose. The brain has adapted to the reality we have created. We were not born with that bastardization of the word. We have created that. I heard it in the session today because it's so ingrained. What the person leading the session said was, at the end, we'd love to get your feedback and anything you thought was good as well.
Yep, negative association.
Feedback is going to be negative. I don't see if there's a thermostat in this room. Makes no judgments. You and I say, we'd like the room to be 72 degrees. So we put it into the thermostat. Thermostat simply moves up and down depending on the temperature. It doesn't say it's too hot. It doesn't say it's too cold. It just says, you asked me to tell you when this happened, and you gave me the power to do something about it. I'm just doing my job. We have totally robbed ourselves of that, totally. And because it's been so narrowly defined, we also are starved for praise.
So how do you create the conditions for success to give that feedback, or however else you want to call it, so the brain is more receptive?
So to me, it becomes part of a dynamic, a relationship. So it can't be done by any one person. So, for example, it's clear to me that I am incapable of changing my own behavior by myself. I mean, I can try, but if there's something going on between you and I that could be improved or reinforced, or I need your help to do that, because you are part of the process. If I try to make a change in my behavior, I'm going to change our relationship. If I change our relationship and you don't do something comparable in return, which is why many an executive development program creates so much frustration. You're a senior executive, you go away for 2 or 3 weeks someplace and your staff is kind of joking with you about it, and they pick up an extra load. You come back and you're all excited about what you've learned. And without any consciousness of intent at all, they will do the best they can of not allowing you to make a change in your behavior, because they know intuitively they will have to change theirs to keep the system in stasis.
Right. It needs to be an openness from both sides.
We have to do it together. We have to do it together.